When a lifeboat drifted 1,500 miles with 50 men, this kept them alive. It sounds impossible, and yet, in the endless blue of the South Atlantic, 50 exhausted men once clung to existence aboard a single wooden lifeboat. Their ship, torpedoed by a German U-boat, had vanished beneath the waves within minutes. Their supplies were meager. Their hope was fragile. Their ordeal would last 40 days and carry them over 1,500 miles of open ocean. It was the winter of 1943. The Battle of the Atlantic was at its height. Allied convoys were the lifelines of Britain, and German submarines prowled the sea lanes with merciless efficiency. When the freighter SS Casterfield went down off the coast of Brazil, 50 survivors found themselves alone, adrift, hunted, and starving. Little did they know, what they would endure next would become a testament to human endurance unlike anything ever recorded at sea. The SS Casterfield was an aging British merchant freighter, 7,000 tons of steel and courage. Departing from Cape Town in January 1943, her mission was to carry ammunition, tinned food, and machinery to Trinidad before joining a convoy north to Liverpool. Her crew was a mix of British naval gunners, Norwegian sailors, and a handful of Chinese stewards, typical of the long multinational crews that kept the Allied war effort running. Commanding the voyage was Captain Robert Allister, a veteran mariner who'd served since the First World War. His first mate, Eric Halverson, a tall Norwegian with eyes pale as North Sea ice, handled navigation. Among the crew was Lieutenant James Marlowe, the DEMS, defensively equipped merchant ships, naval gunner in charge of the two 4-inch deck guns supplied by the Royal Navy. For weeks, the Casterfield steamed northward alone. Her radio was damaged from a gale off Cape Town. Without convoy protection or radar, she was a lone steel beacon across the endless Atlantic, an easy target for Admiral Donitz's wolf packs. By February 8th, a U-boat, U-208, commanded by Kapitan Lieutenant Friedrich Koenig, had tracked her for over 12 hours. At 05:43 hours, the lookout spotted the first torpedo wake slicing through the black water. It struck amidships. The explosion tore through the engine room. Lights went out. The ship listed violently to port. "Abandon ship!" Captain Allister shouted. Within 8 minutes, the Casterfield was gone, swallowed whole by the Atlantic. 50 men survived the blast, scrambling aboard the few remaining lifeboats as oil and debris drifted across the surface. Most were soaked to the bone. 4 lifeboats launched, but only one remained intact as the others collided in the chaos. By dawn, they were alone. The lifeboat measured just 26 feet long, built of oak planks and fitted with a single mast. The emergency stores were meager: 1 cask of water, a crate of hardtack biscuits, a small tin of pemmican, and a signaling mirror. No radio, no charts, no compass. At 07:30 hours, Halverson estimated they were 400 miles east of Recife, Brazil, far south of the nearest shipping lane. Within hours, the sea began to rise. Swells tossed the boat like a cork. "We'll steer west," Marlowe said. "If the current favors us, we may reach the coast." But none of them truly believed it. The first night brought silence broken only by the groan of the wood. Men prayed. Some wept. And as dawn broke, so too did their first reality check. The food wouldn't last a week. On the 3rd day, sharks began following the craft. Dozens of dark fins cut through the silver surface, drawn by the scent of spilled oil and blood. By the 5th day, the first man died of injuries from the explosion. With no choice, the survivors committed his body to the sea. The ocean, indifferent, swallowed it whole. Halverson recorded each day's drift by measuring the angle of the sun with a piece of broken metal fashioned into a sextant. "Roughly 25 miles westward today," he whispered. By the 10th day, the water cask was half empty. Each man received a few spoonfuls of water twice a day. Lips cracked, skin blistered from salt and sun. The bitter irony, endless water, none fit to drink. On day 12, a violent storm erupted. Waves 10 meters high smashed the lifeboat. Men clung to the gunwales as lightning flashed like artillery bursts overhead. 2 were swept overboard, gone in an instant. The storm lasted 6 hours. Afterward, they discovered the water cask had been contaminated by seawater. Panic spread. Men screamed, fought, until the captain intervened, ordering calm, his revolver drawn from a sealed tin. "Discipline will save us," he said quietly, "or we die like animals." By day 15, skin infections grew. Rationed hardtack crumbled into salty mush. A seaman named Patel fashioned fishing lines from shirt thread and bent nails. Against all odds, he caught a small mackerel. They split it into 50 pieces, each man savoring a sliver no larger than a finger. "Food," someone whispered, "still exists in this world." On day 17, Marlowe used the mirror to signal an approaching aircraft, likely a Catalina patrol plane. The men screamed and waved. The plane banked once, then flew away. They had been seen, but the ocean was vast, and hope thin. The following morning, one of the Chinese stewards, Wang Li, shared a secret. Before fleeing the ship, he'd smuggled a small tin of condensed milk. He poured the contents into a bottle, mixing it with raindrops collected overnight. Each man took a sip, sweetness like none had ever known. That night, as phosphorescent waves glowed under a new moon, they sang softly, old Navy tunes from home. For the first time in weeks, they remembered what it felt like to be human. Pause. By day 23, the situation was critical. Skin was cracked, bodies wasted. 11 men had perished. The sun beat down relentlessly, the temperature rising above 40 degrees Celsius. Salt sores opened across their legs. When they rubbed their skin, it came away in flakes. Then came the worst blow. Halverson, the navigator, their only man with true direction sense, collapsed from dehydration. He never woke again. Captain Alistair, his face hollow beneath the brim of his cap, buried him at sea with quiet words. "Your course is clear, old friend." 2 days later, water ran out entirely. Men began drinking seawater. Some went mad within hours, laughing, raving, or shouting at ghosts. Others muttered prayers in half-sleep. By day 27, a man knifed another over the last biscuit. It was Marlowe who stopped him, breaking up the fight with a piece of broken oar handle. The attacker was restrained. Discipline, barely, held. Seagulls circled above the lifeboat, drawn by the smell of death and flesh. When one landed, Wang Li swung out and caught it bare-handed. Its blood became drink, its flesh, nourishment. From then on, they hunted birds for survival, stringing scraps of fish as bait. It became a grim ritual of existence. Then, on day 30, they sighted a ship on the horizon. Smoke, faint, gray against the sky. The men screamed. They burned a scrap of life jacket soaked in oil. Fire leapt upward. But as they watched, the ship turned, disappearing over the horizon. The fuel saved their lives but broke their hearts. "Maybe it was an Axis ship," the captain murmured. "Maybe it's mercy we were unseen." That night, a massive wave rolled the lifeboat halfway over. Supplies scattered, the mast snapped, their oars drifted away. Now they had no steering, no sails, only current and fate. They were dying, and they knew it. Day 32. The sky shifted. Thick clouds gathered, and for the first time in weeks, the heavens opened. Rain, a torrential, cold downpour. Men screamed and laughed as they caught water in their helmets, cupped hands, even the folds of their shirts. They filled every container and vessel they could find. It was like life reborn. But one man, Marlowe, noticed something else. A faint change in current. Debris drifted westward faster than before. The south equatorial current, he realized, was carrying them toward land. They lashed together broken planks to create makeshift paddles. Hour after hour, they rowed, skin raw, muscles trembling. Each dawn, they checked the horizon for birds or cloud patterns. On day 35, Wang Li spotted floating leaves, palm fronds, then driftwood. "Land," he whispered, voice breaking. "Land is near." On the 39th day, just before dusk, one lookout cried out, "Lights, ahead!" They saw a faint glow, like fireflies over water. Whether it was real or imagined, they didn't care. They rowed until their hands bled. By dawn, the outline of a coastline appeared, low green hills along the coast of Brazil. They had made it. Captain Alistair, sunburned beyond recognition, wept silently. 8 men remained alive out of 50. Local fishermen spotted the lifeboat and rowed to intercept. When they reached the wrecked survivors, the Brazilians described them as ghosts in uniform. One man was still holding a tin of milk against his chest, empty but precious beyond measure. Their odyssey had lasted 40 days and drifted over 1,500 miles through treacherous waters. Of 50 souls, only 8 survived. In hospital beds at Recife, doctors marveled that any had lived. Their internal organs were damaged by dehydration, their skin raw and peeling. Yet when asked how they survived, the captain simply said, "Discipline and a little luck." The British Admiralty recorded the case as one of the longest open boat drifts in the Atlantic during the war. The survivors were quietly commended. Captain Alistair received the Order of the British Empire, OBE, for leadership under desperate maritime conditions. Lieutenant Marlowe was later assigned to a convoy command in the North Atlantic. Wang Li returned to service as a steward on another freighter, his courage noted in Royal Navy dispatches. In time, the story of the Casterfield became a symbol of endurance, folded into the countless tales of loss and perseverance that defined the Battle of the Atlantic. Years later, when asked what truly kept them alive, Marlowe would answer without hesitation, "It wasn't food or hope, it was faith in each other." This was just one of countless untold stories from the Second World War. Subscribe to World War II Insight Stories as we continue to bring these forgotten chapters of history back to life.